My name is Elise, and I'm a student from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Today, I'm going to walk you through Youth Service America's Youth Changing the World Service Project Toolkit. Planning a service project can feel like an overwhelming task at first, but when you break it down step by step and take advantage of the resources that you have available to you, you'll be amazed by what you can accomplish. Let's take a look at my service story. Throughout this video, we're going to hear from other students who have planned service projects and have advice to share. You can follow along and find additional resources in your Youth Changing the World Service Project Toolkit. The first stage in planning your service project is the investigation stage. During this stage, you'll choose your cause and learn more about it. Like a lot of students, I first started to think about service when I found out about my school's 50-hour community service requirement. I knew that I didn't want completing my service project to be like a chore where I was just checking off boxes to get things done. I wanted to complete a meaningful and sustainable service project in an area that I feel passionate about. I started brainstorming ideas for my project by looking at the Choose Your Cause graphic in the Youth Changing the World Toolkit. I was immediately struck by the issue of water. The issue of water quality and access is an incredibly important one, globally, nationally, and locally, and I knew that I wanted to complete a service project around the issue of water. Water is a really broad issue, though. I needed to decide what sort of meaningful impact and measurable impact I wanted to have on my community. How many bodies of water did I want to protect or restore? You have to be realistic, and it's okay to start small. I decided to focus on one portion of a river near my house. Once I had narrowed down my topic, I needed to do research. The chart in your Youth Changing the World Toolkit is a great place to start. Think about what you already know about your topic, what you want and need to know about your topic, and how you're going to find that information. I knew how important a clean river was to my local area, for health, for the environment, and even for the local economy. I didn't know that much about the health of this particular river, though, and needed to learn more. When conducting research, it's important to get your information from reputable sources. Doing a search at your local library for books and articles is a great place to start. I also started searching the web for information about river health and water quality in Pennsylvania. If you're doing internet research, be especially careful about where you get your information. Use a search engine like Google Scholar, which is specifically designed to help you find reliable academic sources. When you find a website that you like, pay attention to who is in charge of it. This can tell you whether or not it is a reliable source for you to use. For example, this website's domain name ends in .us because it's run by the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. That means it is a really good source for me to use to learn about rivers in Pennsylvania. There are lots of ways that you can conduct research, in addition to finding books, articles, news stories, and videos and websites. You can conduct a survey, make observations, or connect with an expert in the area.
When engaging elected officials in your Global Youth Service Day efforts, be sure to include everyone. Your elected officials can include state and federal legislators, your city council, school board members, and even your mayor. Some best practices that I have learned when I engage elected officials in my service work may seem simple, but make powerful and impactful statements. Be sure that you go there with an elevator speech and leave behind materials. Include the date and time of your event, what YSA and GYSD are all about, and the impact that you hope to make. But of course, have youth involved. Have youth meet with the elected officials and their legislators. After all, this is Global Youth Service Day.
When engaging public officials in projects, it's important to utilize them in substantive roles. Elected officials love coming out to community projects, especially those that revolve around youth. Elected officials can do a fantastic job in driving home points regarding the cause that you're working towards, as well as the importance of service learning in your community. It can be a truly empowering experience for youth to work alongside their elected officials that are there to represent them. Make sure to thank them during and after to maintain a relationship with them.
In my case, I went to a popular tourist spot along the river and observed people for about an hour. I found that a lot of people were dropping trash along the riverbed and that it was getting pulled into the river. I also contacted people who work at national and state parks nearby and met with a park ranger to talk about the health of the river in my area. The park office also taught me how to use a water testing kit to check on the water quality. With my research done, it was time to think about how my personal skills and passions would help me implement a service project.
Identify the need in your community. Talk to your friends, family members, and local community leaders to find resources and really identify a project that fits your interests.
So say we identify hunger as a need in our community. We can talk to the local food bank and see what they need there. Maybe they're low on food donations, so we can set up a food drive at our school.
And make sure that you talk to the food bank first. They might have resources that could help you out in the project planning process.
Be creative when thinking about how your skills might help you plan a service project. If you're a great musician, think about hosting a benefit concert or writing a song about your issue to be performed at a local venue. If you're good with computers, you could create a website to advocate for your cause. The possibilities are endless.
When preparing and planning your project, it might seem like it's more difficult than the actual project, but all you gotta really do is ask how, when, who, and where.
Once you've investigated your issue, you can begin planning and preparing. Who will be involved and who do you need to help you complete your goals? Will you be working with younger students or local organizations, student clubs or local officials? And once you know who's going to be involved, how many people do you need to help you complete your goals?
Some other really good questions to consider are, what is the age group of your volunteers and how are you going to recruit that age group? Also, who are the community members you'd like to involve, such as teachers or public officials? And last, who do you need permission from? Do you need permission to book your location or to work with certain groups?
And now that you know the who, asking how establishes the structure of your project. How are you going to fundraise and how are you going to educate the people involved? How are you going to let people know what you're doing? How are you going to gather and organize the resources you need? And how are you going to gain feedback to make changes?
Finally, pick when and where. Ask yourself what timeline and what environment best supports your goals. And do you want to do it indoors, outdoors, private space, or public space? Regardless, just generally find a setting that accommodates your group, the resources you already have, and the tools you want to use.
Asking these questions can be extremely important because they help your project be successful and sustainable.
Once you've answered all these questions, log on to gysd.org and submit your project proposal online.
To help me plan my service project, I used the chart in the Youth Changing the World Toolkit. I have strong leadership skills and have experience running meetings and events from being on my school's student government. I also like photography and am good at visually recording events. I decided to keep testing the water quality of the river regularly and keep track of my results. I also want to plan an event for Global Youth Service Day this April.
When people work together on teams, everyone likes to feel like their voices are being heard.
The best Global Youth Service Day projects are, from beginning to the end, planned and led by youth with the support and advice from adult facilitators.
Make sure to consider communication between adults and youth. You need to make sure that everyone's ideas are being heard and everyone is being listened to.
Another really important thing to consider is the logistics of your group. When working to schedule group meetings or group projects, make sure to think about the schedules of both youth and adults and keep these in mind. Again, this is where good communication comes into play.
If you can remember to keep in mind communication and logistics for both youth and adult partnerships, then you'll be well on your way to a successful Global Youth Service Day project. When youth and adults work together, it's important to consider that they have different experiences and skill sets to bring to the table.
To get the full strength and value of all of these experiences, it's important to make sure that all of you have good listening skills. This will help you really get the benefit from all of your team members.
In order to make sure everything runs smoothly, make sure that you map out clear guidelines and expectations for your group from beginning to end.
Adults, make sure that you serve as an advisory role, but really let the youth take the lead on your project. Remember, it's important not to criticize, but encourage as much as possible, and give youth the leadership roles that they want to take on. Often you'll be surprised at how much they can accomplish on their own.
Youth, remember to stay committed to your project, and don't forget that you're not just a kid, you're a valuable member of the community.
So remember, when working on your Global Youth Service Day project, it's important to use good communication skills and set guidelines for your group to be truly successful.
When youth work together on organizations or teams, there are many ways they can be effectively involved.
Youth can be engaged as planners, trainers, funders, as members of a youth council, or by serving on an organization's board of directors. And all of these experiences give youth a variety of skills.
In high school, my Girl Scout troop worked together to plan a council-wide camping event. Being on the planning team gave us the opportunity to practice skills such as risk management and making sure everyone's voices felt heard.
In my home state of Florida, I work with youth on a fishing line recycling and marine debris prevention project. I work with the students involved to raise funds for the project so they can take part in it. In a community, youth can be involved in raising funds for a project or for larger organizations.
Together, Sean and I serve on YSA's Youth Council. Youth councils can take on many shapes and forms, but they're always an awesome way to get youth's voices heard within an organization.
Youth can also be brought on board by an organization by serving as a member of a board of directors. Here they have a role in the organization's governance, its strategic planning, its funding, and its overall mission.
As you can see, there are a variety of ways to bring youth on board in the implementation of projects.
Reflection is not just an event, it's an experience, and it's one that can help you sustain your project and the relationships built around it. Reflection is a great tool during your project. Talk to staff and participants. How can you better meet the needs of those who are serving and those who are being served? Create reflection activities for your group. Let them share their goals and their successes. It can be a great motivational tool for the group and individuals within it. Furthermore, it can be a great way for you to understand whether or not your project is meeting its goals.
Reflection is also a great tool to use after your project. This is when you examine how the project went and the impact that it had. Try asking your volunteers questions like, what did they think? What were their dislikes and what were their likes? What changes would they like to see? And also other suggestions they have. Make sure you distribute surveys to everyone involved in the group and take down notes while you're reflecting. Getting everything down on paper is a great way to plan for next year's project.
But for planning for this year, make sure you go to gysd.org for more information on reflecting.
Thanks for watching this Youth Service America Youth Changing the World Service Project Toolkit walkthrough. I hope that your service project turns out great, but remember, it's really the process, not the product, that counts. If you have any questions while you're planning your service project, check out www.ysa.org for additional resources.